My name is Jessica. I am 27, and this Christmas was supposed to be the first one I spent for myself instead of saving everyone else. Instead, I ended up watching my mom clutch her phone, her face draining of color as she whispered, "What? This cannot be happening." 5 kids screamed in the background on a video call, toys crashing, someone crying because juice spilled on a brand new dress. On the other end of the line, my mom stared at the picture I had just sent her of my beach chair, my sunglasses, and the plane ticket with today's date on it. She had built her perfect holiday around one assumption, the same one my family had leaned on for years, that I would quietly give up my plans to be the babysitter for all 5 grandkids while everyone else dressed up and had fun. No pay, no thanks, just guilt, and, "You know we cannot do it without you." But this year, I did not cancel my life to make theirs easier. I changed my plans in a way she never saw coming. The thing is, this story did not start with that shocked gasp. It started weeks earlier, with one phone call that pushed me past my limit and made me realize I was done being the family's backup plan. If you have ever been treated like the automatic babysitter just because you are single or do not have kids yet, stay with me until the end and tell me if you think I went too far or not far enough. 2 weeks before that chaotic video call, my phone lit up with my mother's name just as I was finishing a late report. I had been working overtime for months so I could afford a solo Christmas trip I had planned since summer, a quiet little rebellion I had been clinging to like a lifeline. I answered on the third ring. "Hey, Mom." Her cheerful voice hit me like a warning siren. "Jessica, perfect timing. I have the most wonderful plan for Christmas, and you are going to love it." My stomach tightened. When my mom said she had a plan, it usually meant she had a plan for me. "Okay. What kind of plan?" "You know how your sister and your brother are bringing the kids this year," she began, her tone too casual. "And they really deserve a night off? They work so hard. We were thinking you could watch the kids for a couple of days while we get everything ready and have some adult time. It will only be 5 kids. You are so good with them." There it was. 5 kids. 2 under 3, one in the middle of a dinosaur phase, and a pair of noisy twins who treated every room like a jungle gym. "Mom, I already told you I booked a trip for Christmas. Remember? The beach place I have been saving for all year." She went quiet for half a beat, then laughed it off. "Well, of course, but you can move that, right? It is not like you have a husband or kids to worry about. You are flexible. Your family needs you." Flexible. That word burned. What she really meant was that my time, my job, my life were all optional compared to everyone else's. I stared at my half-packed suitcase in the corner. Plane tickets, non-refundable, vacation days already approved. "I do not know, Mom. I really need this break." "You get breaks all the time," she countered immediately. "They do not. Besides, you love the kids. Think about their little faces when they see you. You would not want to disappoint them, would you?" There it was, the familiar cocktail of guilt and obligation she had poured for me my whole life. Growing up, if someone needed a last-minute babysitter, it was me. When my classmates had parties, I was the one stuck at home with a crying toddler cousin. When my coworkers planned spontaneous weekend trips, I was the one canceling because a sibling had an emergency, and my mother volunteered me without asking. I hesitated, my throat tight. "Mom, it is not about the kids. It is about the fact that no one ever asks if I am okay with it. It is just assumed." "Oh, do not be dramatic," she snapped, the sweetness dropping from her voice. "Everyone else has real responsibilities. You are the only one without a family of your own. You should be grateful they trust you with their children." Real responsibilities. As if my life did not count because it did not look like theirs. Something in me cracked, but instead of shattering, it sharpened. A cold, clear thought slid into place. If they saw me as the built-in babysitter, maybe it was time they finally experienced what it was like without me. I cannot promise anything, I said slowly. I need to think. You do not have to think, she replied briskly. You know what the right thing is. We are all counting on you. Then she hung up, confident the guilt would work like it always had. I sat there, phone still in my hand, pulse pounding against my ribs. For the first time, instead of rehearsing excuses to get out of my trip, I found myself thinking about something else entirely, a question that would not let go. What if this year I let them feel the chaos they always dumped on me? I did something I almost never did when it came to my family. I did not answer right away. I let her words sit there, ringing in my ears, and instead of calling back, I called someone else. Martha did not bother with hello. You have the voice you use when your family is being ridiculous, she said. What happened this time? I told her everything, pacing my tiny living room, stepping around my suitcase as if it were evidence of a crime. The months of planning my trip, the phone call, the way my mom had said real responsibilities, how 5 kids had somehow become my Christmas. By the time I finished, Martha was silent for a moment, which was rare for her. Jess, she finally said, do you realize they do this every year? I did. I just hated admitting it. She started counting it off, year by year. Last Christmas, you skipped your office party to drive 3 hours and watch the twins while everyone else went to a concert. The year before that, you spent New Year's with a fever and 3 toddlers so your sister could get one night out. And remember the wedding you missed because your brother double-booked you as a babysitter? Each memory flashed in my mind like its own little scene. Tiny hands tugging at my shirt while my phone buzzed with pictures of my friends having fun without me. Texts from my mom thanking me and then, weeks later, acting like it had been no big deal. Yeah, I said quietly. I remember. So why are you still letting them? Martha asked. They treat you like a service, not a person. If they really respected you, they would at least ask, not just assign you. Her words hit harder than any guilt text ever had. Because she was right. Somewhere along the line, I had become the responsible one, the single one, the one whose plans were always negotiable. Maybe I should just say no, I whispered, more to myself than to her. Or, Martha said, her voice sharpening, maybe you should stop warning them and let them deal with the consequences. They never give you a heads up before they dump their plans on you. Why are you the one who has to be considerate? I sank onto the couch, chewing my lip. The idea made my stomach flip. Let them feel the chaos. Let them see what I actually absorbed for them every holiday. That would be petty, I said weakly. That would be fair, she shot back. You are not trying to hurt the kids. You are trying to force the adults to act like adults. There is a difference. Later that night, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was the family group chat, filled with confetti emojis and long paragraphs about our big Christmas plans. Right in the middle of the thread, my mom had written, Jessica already promised to take all the kids so we can focus on hosting. She is such an angel. We would be lost without her. Promised. I stared at that one word so long it blurred. I had not promised anything. I had said I needed to think. Somehow, in her version of the story, that had turned into a done deal. My heartbeat slowed, turning cold and steady. I watched as my siblings reacted with relief. This is amazing. I really needed this break. Jess, you are a lifesaver. None of them asked if I was okay with it. None of them even checked with me before celebrating. Something inside me finally snapped, but not in the loud, messy way I had always imagined. It was quieter than that, like a knot loosening. Fine, I thought. You want to pretend I promised? You want to assume I will sacrifice myself again? Then this year, you can celebrate without me for real. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I typed, then deleted, then typed again, before finally sending a message so neutral it almost made me laugh. Got your messages? I will figure out my schedule and let you know. Out loud, I still sounded like the reasonable daughter, but inside, the plan was already shifting. For the first time in my life, I was not looking for a way to fit myself into their expectations. I was looking for a way out. The next day, during my lunch break, I opened my laptop and stared at the open tab for my beach rental. For weeks, I had been hovering over the payment button, afraid my family would somehow talk me out of it. Now, that fear felt smaller than my anger. I checked the dates again. Check in, December 23rd. Check out, December 27th. The exact window my mom wanted me glued to a couch with 5 kids hopped up on sugar. I hovered for one last second, then clicked confirm. Just like that, the trip became real. Not a someday fantasy. Not a maybe. A fact. My phone buzzed a few minutes later. It was my mom again. "Have you thought about what we talked about?" she asked, skipping any form of greeting. "I have," I said, my voice even. "I am still working some things out." "Well, I already told your sister and your brother you would do it," she said briskly. "They are counting on you. We all are. You are the only one who can handle all 5 of them at once. You know how they get." I almost laughed at the backhanded compliment. Translation: "We have relied on you so long we do not know how to function without you." "Mom, I never said yes," I reminded her. "You should not plan around me without asking." "You did not say no either," she replied sharply, "and I knew you would do the right thing once you had time to think. Do not make this difficult." There it was again, that phrase, the right thing, like there was only one acceptable answer and it involved me canceling my life. If I told her about my confirmed booking now, I knew exactly what would happen. She would cry. She would talk about sacrifice and family and how disappointed she was in the daughter who did not drop everything. Then she would call every relative and paint me as ungrateful until I caved just to stop the noise. They never gave me much warning when they needed me. They never asked how it would affect my work or my plans. They just decided I would figure it out. So this time, I decided I would give them the exact same courtesy they had always given me. None. "I am still thinking," I repeated calmly. "I will let you know before the holiday." "Jessica," she said, her tone dropping into that low, dangerous register I had known since childhood. "Do not pull anything dramatic. We have a lot riding on this. Your sister already ordered special outfits for the kids so they can take pictures by the tree. We need someone responsible there while we get everything ready." Responsible, sacrificial, convenient. All the words they really meant. "I hear you," I said. "I will let you know." When we hung up, I did not cry. I did not spiral. Instead, I opened a blank document and started typing out everything I wanted to say, but never had. All the times I had missed out. All the ways they had treated my time like it was free. All the comments about how I would understand one day when I had a family of my own, as if my life did not count until then. The list was longer than I wanted to admit. By the time I finished, my hands were trembling, but not from fear. It was from clarity. That night, I called Martha again and read the list to her. "So," she said slowly when I finished, "what exactly are you going to do?" I looked at my suitcase in the corner, now fully packed. "I am going on my trip." "And your mom?" she asked. "I am going to stop protecting her from the consequences," I said. "Every year she builds this perfect picture of Christmas on my back and pretends the sacrifices are hers. This year, I am going to let everyone see who has actually been carrying the load." Martha exhaled, a low whistle. "Are you sure you are ready for that fallout?" "No. Yes. Maybe." My emotions shifted like sand, but under all of it, something solid had formed. I am tired of being the only one who is scared of upsetting people, I said. If they can casually uproot my plans, they can handle a little surprise. As I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, another question surfaced, one that I knew plenty of people watching this would understand. How many times are you supposed to set yourself on fire to keep everyone else warm before you finally walk away from the matchbox? I did not have the full answer yet, but I knew I was done burning. Christmas Eve arrived faster than I expected. For once, instead of waking up to a long list of instructions about snacks and nap times, I woke up to my alarm and the soft hum of my suitcase wheels waiting by the door. My flight was at 10. My mom still thought I would be at her house by noon. I brewed coffee, showered, and got dressed in the most unfestive outfit I owned, just to remind myself this was my holiday, not theirs. Before I grabbed my keys, I opened the family group chat one more time. New messages had piled up overnight. Pictures of half-wrapped presents, my sister complaining about glitter everywhere, my brother whining about last-minute shopping. In the middle of it all, my mom had written, "Jessica will be here tomorrow to take the kids so we can finish everything. Thank goodness for her. I do not know what we would do without that girl." The words made my jaw clench, but they also steeled my resolve. I opened a new private chat with my mom. My fingers shook, but I kept typing. "I wanted to remind you that I never agreed to watch the kids this year. I will be out of town over Christmas. I hope you all have a great holiday, but I will not be babysitting." I stared at the message for a long second, then hit send before I could talk myself out of it. Almost immediately, the typing dots appeared. "Out of town?" she wrote. "What are you talking about? You knew we were counting on you. You cannot just change your mind now." A strange calm settled over me. I took a screenshot of my flight confirmation, complete with the date and destination, then snapped a quick photo of my packed suitcase by the door and my beach hat hanging on top. "I am not changing my mind," I wrote back. "I told you weeks ago I had plans. I am just not canceling them this time." No emojis, no apologies. There was a long pause, then another flood of messages. "You are being selfish. You are ruining Christmas. Nee. You know your sister and your brother cannot handle 5 kids alone." Each accusation rolled in, but instead of sinking, they bounced off like rain against a window. Maybe some people listening would say I should have told them sooner, should have warned them more clearly. But how do you warn people who never really listen unless it benefits them? I put my phone on silent, grabbed my suitcase, and walked out the door. The airport was buzzing with holiday chaos, but for once it did not feel like my chaos to manage. I checked my bag, went through security, and sat by the gate with my headphones in, the low murmur of announcements mixing with the thud of my heart. Half an hour before boarding, I caved and checked my phone. The group chat had exploded. "Wait, what do you mean Jessica is not coming? Mom, I thought you said she promised. You said she was fine with it." Then my name started popping up. "Jess, are you serious? Tell me this is a joke." I took a breath and typed a single message into the group chat, instead of replying to anyone individually. "I am not a built-in babysitter. I love you all, but I am not spending every holiday taking care of 5 kids while everyone else gets a break. I told Mom I had other plans. I am on my way out of town. You will need to figure something else out." I hit send and watched as the little message read notifications stacked up one after another. For a full minute, no one replied. Then my mom finally answered, but not in the group chat. She called. I let it ring once, twice, 3 times before I answered. I could hear noise in the background, the sound of wrapping paper and cartoons blaring and at least one child screaming. "How could you do this to me?" she demanded, skipping any greeting. "Everyone is coming over tonight. The kids are already here. Your sister and your brother have dinner reservations. Do you know how much work I have? I cannot watch all these kids and host at the same time. You should have thought about that before you planned everything around me without my consent, I said quietly. I told you I had a trip. You chose not to hear me. That trip is more important than your family? She snapped. That trip is more important than being taken for granted, I replied. There was a beat of stunned silence. In the background, a child yelled for juice. Another one started crying. Someone knocked something over. This cannot be happening, she whispered, more to herself than to me. I told everyone you would be here. That is the problem, I said. You told everyone what I would do without ever asking me. They called my group chat message drama. They said I blindsided them. But for the first time, it was not my job to smooth things over, to rush in and rescue everyone from the consequences of their own planning. When my boarding group was called, I stood up, rolled my suitcase toward the gate, and said the words I had been too afraid to say for years. I hope you all have a great Christmas, I told her, but this year you will have to figure it out without me. I hung up before she could answer. As I stepped onto the plane, the last thing I saw on my screen was a new photo popping up in the family chat a few minutes later, sent by my sister. 5 kids in mismatched pajamas, one crying, one covered in cookie dough, my mom in the background with her hand over her mouth, eyes wide. Even through the blurry shot, I could almost hear her gasp. What? This cannot be happening. And for once, I did not rush to make it easier. I put my phone on airplane mode and chose myself instead. When the plane landed and my phone reconnected to the network, it lit up like a slot machine. Missed calls, voicemails, 37 unread messages in the family chat. For a second, my thumb hovered over airplane mode again. I could have left it all muted and disappeared into the sound of waves. But another part of me, the part that had always cleaned up the mess, needed to see what happened when I did not. I opened the family chat. The thread looked like a slow-motion car crash. First were the confused messages from my siblings when my mom finally told them I was not coming. What do you mean Jess backed out? I thought you said she promised? Wait, so who is watching the kids tonight? Then the argument shifted. You told us it was all handled. You said she agreed weeks ago. Mom, we booked everything based on what you said. For once, the frustration was not aimed at me. It was aimed at her. In the middle of the storm of texts, my mom kept repeating the same line. She changed her mind at the last minute. I do not know what got into her. My jaw tightened. I had not changed my mind. I had finally acted on it. There is a difference between surprising someone and betraying them. My family had never cared about that difference when it came to me. A video call popped up on my screen. Mom. I almost ignored it, then sighed and answered, more out of curiosity than obligation. Her face filled the screen, flushed and frantic. Behind her, the living room looked like a toy store had exploded. Wrapping paper, plastic packaging, half-eaten cookies. 2 kids wrestling on the floor, one crying on the couch. A cartoon blared from the TV at maximum volume, no one watching it. What do you think you are doing, Jessica? She demanded before I could say hello. Your sister is in the shower. The twins are fighting over a tablet. Your brother is trying to get the baby down for a nap, and your father is at the store. We are drowning here. You cannot be serious about this little stunt. Stunt. That word almost made me laugh. I am lying in a lounge chair, I said calmly, angling the camera just enough so she could see the edge of the pool, the palm trees, the blue sky. I told you I was going on vacation. I am finally doing it. She stared at the screen like she was staring at a crime scene. You sent a picture of your luggage, but I thought you were being dramatic. You are really there? Yes, I said. I am really here. A scream rang out behind her. One of the twins shoved the other and someone crashed into the coffee table. A plastic cup hit the floor and rolled out of view. My mom flinched but did not turn away from the camera. You should be here, she snapped. This is your responsibility. There it was. Not a favor, not help. My responsibility. Why? I asked quietly. Because I am the only one without a spouse? Because I do not have kids of my own yet? Because you decided that made my time less valuable? She opened her mouth, then closed it again. I watched the calculation in her eyes, the way she always rewrote history to make herself the martyr. You know I cannot do all of this by myself, she said, falling back on the line she had used my whole life. I am not as young as I used to be. I thought you understood that. I thought you cared. That is the thing, I replied. I do care. I have cared so much that I have lost count of the holidays, weekends, and nights I gave up to make sure everyone else was okay. But I am done caring alone. She blinked. For the first time, she looked less angry and more scared. Not of the kids, not of the mess, but of something else. The realization that her favorite safety net was not where she left it. Jess, you are punishing me, she whispered, punishing your own mother. I let the silence hang, listening to the chaos behind her, the holiday soundtrack I had been expected to absorb every year. Maybe I am, I said finally, or maybe I am just refusing to keep punishing myself. Do you have any idea how it feels to always be the one expected to cancel? To be told everyone else has real responsibilities while you are treated like a spare part? You are twisting this, she protested weakly. We just needed your help. Families help each other. Families respect each other too, I said. When was the last time you asked what I wanted for Christmas? Not what you needed me to do, but what I wanted. She did not answer. Someone called for her from the kitchen. The baby started crying again. My brother's voice cut through the background, frustrated. Mom, the twins just dumped juice everywhere. My mom's eyes darted away from the camera. For a moment, I saw the raw panic there. Not just at the mess, but at the fact that she would have to admit to everyone that this time she had gambled with my life and lost. This conversation is not over, she said, even as she turned her head toward the chaos. You have no idea what you are doing. Oh, I do, I said. For once, I am letting you deal with the situation you created. You told everyone I promised something I never agreed to. You built your plans on that lie. I am just not covering for it. Her mouth tightened. You are going to regret this when you realize you have pushed your family away. The funny thing was, I had already spent years feeling pushed to the edges of my own family, useful only when they needed something. Maybe, I said softly. Or maybe you are going to regret realizing how much you have taken me for granted. I ended the call before she could reply. For a moment, guilt surged up, familiar and heavy. I almost reached to call her back. I almost offered to cut my trip short, to race home and patch everything back together. Then I looked up. A kid splashed in the shallow end of the pool, squealing with joy while his parents watched from nearby chairs, laughing and relaxed, taking turns getting in the water. No one looked exhausted. No one looked like they had been tricked into being there. I lay back and closed my eyes, letting the sun warm my face. How many of us grow up believing that being a good daughter means being endlessly available? How many of us confuse exploitation with love because it is wrapped in words like family first and sacrifice? The messages kept coming. Angry texts. Guilty ones. A photo of my sister in a wrinkled dress with a kid on each hip, her hair half done and her expression furious. A half-typed apology from my brother that turned into another accusation midway through. For once, I did not respond. I let the thread run wild without me. And as cruel as some people might think that sounds, it felt less like vengeance and more like balance finally snapping into place. If you always save everyone from the fire, how will they ever learn to stop playing with matches? That night, while my family scrambled to rebook dinners, cancel plans, and trade shifts watching the kids, I watched the sunset bleed orange and pink across the water. I ordered room service. I listened to the ocean instead of complaints. For the first time in years, Christmas Eve belonged to me. And somewhere, in a house full of screaming children and broken expectations, so did the consequences. I did not hear my mother's voice again until 2 weeks after Christmas. The first few days after my trip, the family group chat had been a battlefield. My siblings argued about whose fault it was that their plans fell apart. My mom tried to steer the narrative back to me being unpredictable and over-emotional, but some of the messages slipped through her control. "Why did you tell us she promised when she did not?" my brother wrote at one point. "You always do this," my sister added. "You volunteer her, then act surprised when she gets upset." Watching that unfold from a distance was like watching the curtain finally pull back on a play I had been starring in without knowing the script. For years, I had been so busy performing the role of dependable daughter that I did not realize I was also the scapegoat, the built-in solution whenever my mom overpromised. After New Year's, the chat went quiet. No Happy New Year from my mom. No pictures of the kids clinking plastic cups of apple juice. Just silence. Martha raised an eyebrow when I told her. "So," she said, stirring her coffee, "are they icing you out because you set a boundary?" "Maybe," I said. "Or maybe they finally do not know what to do with me now that guilt stopped working." The call came on a random Tuesday evening while I was sorting laundry. My phone buzzed, and there it was again. "Mom." I almost let it go to voicemail. Then I thought about all the people who would be listening to this story and silently screaming at their screens. "Pick up." Make them say it out loud. So I answered. Her voice was calmer this time, quieter, like someone who had finally run out of steam. "Hi, Jess." "Hi." There was a long pause. I could picture her in the kitchen, fingers twisting the phone cord out of habit, even though it had been cordless for years. "I wanted to talk," she said, without yelling, without the kids screaming. Just talk. I sat down at my table. "Okay, I am listening." She took a breath. I could hear the effort in it. "Christmas was a disaster," she admitted. "Your brother and sister fought all night. The kids were out of control. I had to cancel dinner. Your father ended up cooking frozen pizzas while I tried to get frosting out of the living room rug. There was a time when that description would have filled me with guilt. Now it sounded like a description of reality, one I had been shielding them from for years. "I am sorry it was so hard," I said, and I meant it. "But I am not sorry I was not there." "I know," she said. Then quietly, "That is what scares me." Her voice wavered. "Do you know what your Aunt Lillian said when I told her what happened?" I did not answer. "She asked me why I thought it was your job to fix everything," my mom continued. "She said I have been doing that to you since you were a teenager, making you responsible for everyone else's mess." I blinked. Aunt Lillian, of all people, had said that? The woman who sent me Christmas cards with Bible verses about honor your parents? "What did you say?" I asked. "I told her that you are reliable, that you have always been the strong one, that you do not have as much going on," my mom said slowly, like she was hearing her own excuses for the first time. And she looked at me and said, "Or maybe you just assumed she did not matter as much because she did not complain." The silence that followed was heavy. I could feel my heartbeat in my fingers. I did not realize how it sounded until I heard myself say it out loud. My mom whispered, "Like your life was less important than your brother's and your sister's, because it was simpler to use you." Use. The word dropped between us like a stone. "You could have just asked," I said quietly. "You could have treated my time like it mattered. You could have given me the choice." "I know," she said, "and I am sorry." It was not the dramatic, tear-filled apology movies teach us to expect. It was smaller, rough around the edges, almost clumsy. But there was something real in it. "I am sorry I made you feel like you were only valuable when you were doing something for us," she continued. "I am sorry I told everyone you promised when you did not. I wanted so badly for Christmas to be perfect that I used you as a guarantee." I swallowed. "You did not just do that this year," I said. "You have been doing that my whole life." "I know," she said again. And this time, the words sounded heavier. "Your brother and sister told me I put too much on you." that I always assumed you would step in. Your sister said she never even thought to question it, because that is just how things were. That is how I raised all of you to see it. A part of me wanted to snap back, to ask why it took a ruined Christmas and a public embarrassment for her to finally see it. Another part of me understood that admitting this, for her, felt like stepping off a cliff. So what now? I asked. You apologize, I forgive you, and then next Christmas I am back on kid duty while you book dinner reservations? No, she said quickly. That is not what I want anymore. I do not want you here out of obligation. I do not want you resenting us while you put on a smile. I want you here because you choose to be. And if that means you say no sometimes, then... Her voice trailed off before she pushed the words out. Then I need to learn to live with that. There it was. The real shift. Not the apology, but the acceptance that I would not always bend. I am not saying I will never help, I replied. I love the kids. I love spending time with them. But if you want me to babysit, you ask. You do not assume. You do not build your plans around me without my consent. And if I say no, that is the end of it. No guilt trips, no real responsibilities speeches, no smear campaign in the family chat. She let out a shaky breath. That is fair. Also, I added, if it is babysitting and not just family time, you pay me, like you would pay anyone else you hired to watch 5 kids. On the other end of the line, I could almost feel her flinch. Not because she did not have the money, she did, but because this was the first time I had put a clear price on the labor she had been getting for free. I can do that, she said finally. If we ask you to babysit, we will pay you. The version of me from 5 years ago would have backed down at that point, afraid of pushing too hard. The version of me who had watched 5 kids through a screen while lying by a pool felt something else. One more thing, I said. If you ever tell anyone I promised something I did not, we are done. I mean it. I will not spend another decade cleaning up lies you told to make yourself look like the perfect hostess. She was quiet for a long moment. That is not who I want to be, she said at last, her voice very small. I do not like the way I sounded this year. I do not like the way you had to hurt us to get me to listen. But I guess I left you no other choice. I did not answer right away. Because the truth is, that is exactly what happened. I had spent years being reasonable, diplomatic, accommodating. It was only when I disappeared that they finally noticed how much I had been holding up. Jess, she said softly, do you think you can forgive me? Forgiveness is a complicated thing. It is not a switch you flip. It is a boundary you maintain even when people are sorry. I can forgive you, I said slowly, but I am not going to forget. And I am not going back to being who I was before Christmas. I would not ask you to, she said. We talked a little longer. About work. About the kids. About how my brother had to cancel his fancy dinner and ended up eating takeout in the kitchen while the twins argued over a broken toy. I will not lie. A small, petty part of me enjoyed the image. Not because I wanted them to suffer, but because, for once, their comfort was not paid for with my exhaustion. We ended the call on a truce. Not a fairy tale. No big declarations. No promises of a perfect future. Just a quiet agreement that things would be different, and that if they were not, I would walk away again. This time, without warning. Weeks later, when my sister texted, "We are thinking of doing a family barbecue in the spring. No babysitting, just hanging out. You in?" I believed her. For the first time, she sounded like she was inviting me as a person, not as coverage. Maybe that is the real revenge. Not screaming, not dramatic disowning, but forcing people to rebuild their world without assuming you are the foundation they get to stand on for free. I do not know how next Christmas will look. Maybe I will be there, sharing hot chocolate and laughing with my nieces and nephews while my siblings take their own turns putting kids to bed. Maybe I will be on another trip, watching the waves roll in while I send a polite, Merry Christmas text and nothing more. What I do know is this. They now understand that if they want me in their lives, they have to treat me like an equal, not a resource. They have felt, in one brutal holiday, exactly how heavy the load is when I am not there to carry it. And my mother, the woman who once gasped, "This cannot be happening," now knows that her perfect plans fall apart without my consent, not my compliance. So you tell me, was I cruel for stepping back and letting my family feel the chaos they had always dumped on me? Or was this the only way to make them finally see me as more than the built-in babysitter? Would you have gone further? Or do you think I drew the line exactly where it needed to be?